All right, so it's recording now.
Perfect.
So today we are going to talk about one recurring topic, which is about connecting JNLP agents to masters and connecting shared agents to operation center and make them work appropriately through a release through a connected master. So the first thing I want to make you understand is why is it more complicated when we use Core Modern to connect external agents and when we use just like CJP or a simpler setup? So the reason is here you can see the general architecture diagram representing Core Modern. And the thing I will focus on is the pods here for CJOC and the managed master. And when they run in Kubernetes, the actual container, the actual pod gets a unique IP that is in what we call an overlay network. So it's a network that only exists within Kubernetes. It does not exist outside. So if we want to expose anything, we need to go through either standard Kubernetes services like a service and an ingress, or we need to go to other means. So usually when you expose a master or CJOC, you have to set a service which gives it DNS in Kubernetes, and then the ingress will basically, thanks to an ingress controller, in our case it's the Nginx ingress controller, it's being translated into something that can be accessed from an external load balancer. So depending on the cloud provider, there are different ones, so it can be even some manually set up thing. The thing is, in Kubernetes, the ingress abstraction is only about HTTP or HTTPS. And in the case where we want to expose the port that is used for JNLP agents, which is the TCP port in Jenkins, that port, unfortunately, we don't have ingress, so it's not as easy to expose. But fortunately, so we recommend with CloudBees Core to use the Nginx ingress controller, and this ingress controller comes with a functionality that allows to basically forward a port from the load balancer into the network. So that's typically something that is that has to be done in the Nginx ingress controller configuration. And it means that additionally to the HTTP or HTTPS traffic, you get an additional port in the load balancer that gets forwarded to Nginx. In Nginx, we basically configure it to say, okay, when you get a request on that particular port, forward it to that Kubernetes service and that port. And this is usually how we recommend setting up outside access. The usual downside is that Nginx configuration, it's kind of a, it's done in a global configuration file, so it's not something that you can configure using something that is specific to the managed master or to CJOC, like an ingress. So it's usually more cumbersome to set up for each master. So usually we have, if I come back to the installation guide of a product, I go through, for instance, the one for EKS. So first, so there is a documentation for adding client masters. So this is typically to open the hole to access CJOC, but basically the same procedure applies for any master that has to be opened externally. For CJOC, we use 50,000 as a convention, and usually each master, when it starts, we allocate it a unique port across the cluster that allows to avoid conflicts when we do this configuration. So usually the first master we have like 50,001, the second one 50,002, etc. And basically configuring a master or exposing the master is just about adding new lines here. So here we have the configuration for CJOC, but if you want to open the hole for a master, you would replace the name here by the name of the master and the port by the by the actual port. I see here that the namespace is incorrect in this doc that we have to be fixed. And in essence, so this is the manifest-based configuration, which we have basically three things to edit. A configuration map that is basically telling Nginx to do the forwarding, and then we have to open a few holes. So this on the deployment, just to make sure that the port is exposed on the Nginx controller. And then this one is to open the port at the load balancer level. So usually once once the configuration is done for one master of our CJOC, the only thing to do is just to replicate this kind of configuration for additional masters. Do you think, Manuel, I've been clear on this, or do I need
Perfectly
to go
clear.
over? Okay, cool.
No.
I was wondering, maybe I'm not sure. So I just wanted to show the equivalent when using Helm. I'm not sure this is being documented here. Okay, yeah. So maybe I can just share my screen on something I usually do because I consider that when you use Helm to configure Nginx Ingress Controller, it's simpler to do this kind of thing. So for instance, this is what we use on the cluster on our team cluster. So essentially, this kind of configuration for Nginx, which I showed earlier, the equivalent for Helm when you use the Helm chart from the Nginx Ingress Controller, which is kind of the most straightforward way to install it if you use Helm. When you use that setup, in the end you have, so what I usually use is this file named values.yaml, which can be passed as an argument when you do the install or the upgrade of the chart. And what I showed earlier, which was split around 3 files, here's just a one-line thing where you say, okay, I have a TCP port which I want to open. This is the port on the load balancer, which I'm forwarding to that namespace and that service name on that port, which is the same. And then here, this is something specific to AWS, is if you want to, usually on AWS, we recommend using what we call the proxy protocol. So this is enabled by this annotation here. And in that case, you need also to enable the proxy support on the Nginx side to avoid getting errors. Typically on other platforms, you will just get this value without the proxy thing at the end.
I have a question,
yes?
Vincent. Is this Nginx Ingress chart included in the chart package that our customers?
Oh, yes. Perfect. So as part of the Helm chart that we provide, there is. So if you, where is it? I go to our Helm chart here. So typically, so this Helm chart, you can.
Perfect.
It's optional, so it's not enabled by default, but you can enable it if you want.
And then provide the values that you.
Then you can provide directly the values there. It's still a bit of work in progress. We've introduced it, I think, a couple of releases ago, and there are some. When you use it like this, there are some restrictions. Like when you install something in Helm, you set up a namespace, and that namespace is where the release is getting installed. And in that case, if you enable it, it will install it in the same namespace as the product, which it works. I mean, functionally it works, but usually this is not something I would recommend because Nginx Ingress Controller, you could have like one of them on the cluster and have several things that use Ingress to get access. So I mean that's one way to install it, but I wouldn't consider it the best way. It's just the simplest way, I would say.
Perfect. Well, I think that with these two explanations, I think that you have covered.
Yeah. So the most important thing is to follow the documentation and the different steps. So these ones, to make sure that you don't have anything that could, mostly like this thing, testing that GNLP is enabled on the port that you expect. On the current release, I don't think we have any problem like this, but on the older release, I've seen things. Sometimes the GNLP is not exposed on the right port, and that can happen. And in that case, usually it just requires a restart to fix the problem. But I've seen it happen in the past. So it always, just like follow the instructions, follow the method, and you should not get surprises when you do this. And if you see something that's not working, just like try to bounce the master once at least, and then yeah, that's usually the kind of thing. Yeah.
Essentially, every single step maps to the configuration of every single element that you were showing before in the reference architecture.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is why it's important to have a clear idea of the reference architecture so that we can understand where are we doing things and which are the elements important for the JNLP communication to work in Cloud-based core. I think perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
And then so this is mostly about the Nginx ingress controller. So this is usually one thing I forgot to mention is one important element is since we are forwarding the connection from the load balancer into the Kubernetes cluster. So that's already something that's part of the documentation usually. Where is it? Timeout. Yeah, here. So so just is one more thing to understand is, for instance, this is for AWS, the same kind of configuration may be required for other providers. Is so this is setting the connection timeout for the load balancer. So it means that by default, the timeout for the load balancer, it is lower than the ping thread that is used in the JNLP agents to maintain the connection. So if you have something that is too low, the load balancer may cut the connection unexpectedly. So this is why we usually increase it to 1 hour. That's 1 hour. And that should be enough to allow the ping thread to be more frequent than that, and avoid getting problems just because the load balancer is timing out too quickly.
So if we have, by any reasons, customize our ping thread settings, we should
so typically
those settings.
Typically for these setups where you if you reduce the frequency of ping thread, or if you just disable it, you may have some problems with external agents, because you need that kind of ping thread if you don't want the load balancer to cut out the connection after some time.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what else? So for one last thing about the node port. So the node port is usually something I would not recommend, at least for cloud for cloud environments, because you have modern load balancers. But for on-premise setup, that may be the only option. And a node port. So just maybe I will come back to the reference architecture. So do we have the? I think this is the box with one node essentially. So a node port, it's a kind of service. So it's a box like this, except that usually the CGOC managed master service, they have the type which is called cluster IP. So they just get an IP in the cluster to get access. Whereas the node port is a different kind of service which allocates a port on a node. So usually on each node in the cluster. So it means that you create a service of type node port. You say, okay, I want to expose port 50,000 on my service, and it will allocate some dynamic port on each node. That will be the same on each node, like 36,000 something. but it's guaranteed to be free. And if you try to access that port on any node in the cluster, it will be forwarded to the right service behind. But yeah, this is, I mean, yeah, this is kind of the lesser solution if you don't have a proper load balancer, because you still need to have access to the nodes, which may not be the case if you have for instance, an EKS cluster and nodes only with private IPs. This is not going to be very useful because they don't have public IPs, so that can happen. But it's still an alternative that can work if you cannot do the load balancer setup.
I have a question, Vincent. For share agents, JNLP share agents.
Yeah, for shared agents, that's going to be a bigger problem because mostly you don't have really control about what port is getting used. So the only way to access the cluster, I mean, to access the port in that way is to specify the tunnel. If you use the if you use the load balancer mechanism I described before, what will happen is that when the JNLP agent calls in, the first connection it does is on the HTTP or HTTPS port, and it reads the header that are exposed on the managed master or on CJOC, and the header will tell, okay, to connect through TCP, you should use this host. So in our case, we don't specify any explicit host, so it will use the same. So it will go through the load balancer and use that port. And the port, we also don't override it because on purpose, when you go through the load balancer, we set things up in such a way that the external port is the same as the internal one. So we don't have any additional configuration. This is also because any agent that comes from inside the cluster also use the same mechanism to connect to manage master. So that we don't want to have some kind of weird configuration where we basically depending on where you're coming from, we are serving you two different set of values, and that wouldn't work. So yeah, if you use a node port, at the moment the only way is to specify a tunnel argument. So in using the tunnel, it means that you just instead of relying on whatever is exposed by the master headers, then you just use whatever host and port that you want, and it connects.
Yeah, but that works with external agents. But the problem is that if you use tunneling to attach,
if you use tunneling, at the moment we don't have any option. Unfortunately, there is. I mean, I had explored this kind of approach to make things a bit easier to configure, and it's really. I mean, right now, yeah, there are still some situations that we cannot cover, but otherwise it makes things really too complicated and brittle. So we are also considering things like switching to eventually WebSockets, which could be easier to configure instead of having to punch a hole manually. But we are not there at the moment. So.
Well, but we already know that SSH agents work off the box.
For SSH. So I mean, it really depends. I think I would always recommend using something like SSH, where you basically, I mean, it's just like the connection is outbound from the cluster. So it just means that the agent needs to be accessible from outside. So if it's something that's, I don't know, sitting inside a private LAN which doesn't have any kind of connectivity beyond internet to the cluster, that's gonna be hard. But I would always recommend the SSH connector for this kind of use case. And JNLP should be used only for use cases where you really need some graphical interface and you don't have any other way to connect.
Perfect. So I think that you mostly cover everything, right?
All right.
There was a second element, but I think it was related to the first one. So I think that with this recording, if you can upload it to Drive.
I can upload it wherever you want.